Yo, right here in the small box.
I'm heating up, I'm trying to burn down Toronto. Better keep 6 feet space, this 6-side shit contagious. Money coming in, all I see is numbers, like I'm in the matrix. We've been in the trap.
So let me go ahead, hit the record button. We're going to record this one for sure. I feel like this one would be an upload, no doubt. Right, I feel like this would be a really good video to watch and something for people to learn from. When it comes for me, finding the right content to really like listen to and watch, I really be finding the right things. I ain't gonna lie to you. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. We got Ray Daniels here right in front of us. Salute to the Flex Mob. Salute to the Shadow Mob. Everybody in between. Salute to everyone tapping in, stopping by. I appreciate y'all, no doubt. Let's kick back, have some fun, have a drink, get some food, kick back. Find a nice chair to sit in and catch a vibe with me, all right? Let's go. Let's make it happen. Yo, right here in the small box, Welcome back to Single Seater Reactions, only on the Flex Mind Network. I'm Flex. Welcome back to the channel. I know, it's Ray Daniels. I know. A lot of us don't necessarily like what he got to say because recently he's been talking a whole bunch of nonsense. But I still tap in from time to time because there are some good things that he really be talking about. So with this video right here in front of us, which is titled Hitmaka, Drake losing to Kendrick Lamar messed up the standard. Here's how I know this for a fact. I feel like this might be a really good conversation. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the video. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the reaction. Hit that notification bell to get notified when I drop my videos or when I'm live like right now. And yo, let's get started. I just wanna listen, sit back and listen. So let's go.
I wanted to ask you something. You said something like there's nothing to copy since the beef. Like I got quotes from you. Like, so I have a guy at work, Alex. Alex gives me Hitmaka quotes. So I just wanted to dive into that quote and get you to understand that. Ooh. Explain that. I'm sorry.
See, just starting off with that alone, and just for context, just to hear what he said again.
I wanted to ask you something. You said something like there's nothing to copy since the beef.
That is a quote. There's nothing to copy since the beef. That statement alone literally explains the industry and why nobody wants to drop right now, because there's nothing to use as a reference. It's like people are using each other's tracks for references to make their own track their way, even though it's like a carbon copy of something somebody else did. Like it's literally like it's damn near plagiarism. It's damn near plagiarism. That's why for a long period of time, the music was literally the same, just from the different perspective or from a different individual. That's crazy. That's crazy. And just to piece that together in itself, that's insane. That Is so insane. Jesus. Let's keep going.
Like I got quotes from you. Like, so I have a guy at work, Alex. Alex gives me Hitmaka quotes. So I just wanted to dive into that quote and get you to understand that. Ooh. Explain that. I'm sorry.
Man. Drake has been at the forefront of music so long that he set the pace of what the standard of what shit is supposed to sound like. So it gave every co-producer that I work with and every beat programmer, everybody that I work with, a standard to say, this is what it is, and this is the mark you gotta hit. You could be a little under it, you could be a little over it, whatever, but this is where the standard is. I think when Kendrick took the reins of that, everybody can't rap on a mustard beat. That mustard beat, not like us, is not gonna be the universal sound of where this shit is going. Every time Drake dropped, he showed us where the game was going. His co-producer, his boy.
Sharon, I understand what you're saying, but just the talking points in this itself, it can really help boost and amplify the things that I need to say. Because now when I go back and I listen to what he has to say from here,
say, this is what it is, and this is the mark you gotta hit. You could be a little under it, you could be a little over it, whatever, but this is where the standard is. I think when Kendrick took the reins of that, everybody can't rap on a mustard beat. That mustard beat, not like us, is not gonna be the universal sound of where this shit is going.
It's literally like Kendrick said, enough is enough. Y'all love to copy each other. What happened to creating your own? That's why I look at the clips so differently, because they literally created their own. Like, if you were to look at the Clips album, Let God Sort 'Em Out, that is literally something made from scratch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally the raw definition of ground up. And a lot of these little babies around the industry, they can't do that. They can't do that. So when I go to Rebecca's point where she's talking about how it's not insane, it's lazy and extremely uninspired. Yo, that's true. Because now when you look at the content and some of the raps where these guys are talking about, it's literally the same things over and over. On this track, we're going to talk about making money again. On this track, we're going to talk about hoes. Or that one specific hoe that we really like, but we can never have. We're going to talk about somebody else's girl. We're going to talk about a couple bricks. We're going to talk about moving bricks. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about what? We're going to talk about guns we tote. The guns that we rent. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the cars that we don't even own. The cars that we say we own because we have the paperwork, but not realizing that the paperwork was Photoshop and printed. And it's not real. Like, well, what else are we going to talk about today? We're going to just literally recycle the same things over and over. We're going to talk about the dead homies on this one. You know, I lost my friend not too long ago. That one really hurt me. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that our way. And what else we going to talk about that? We're going to talk about our homeboy that just went to jail. Or my other homeboy that just got out the pen. Yeah, we can talk about that. The same things has been talked about over and over and over for years. And nobody said, can we switch this, please? Is it for real? It's the same old ish. What's good, Lisa? How you doing? So, listening to Chike yesterday, to what Sharon is saying, like, yo, that's like, the reason why that hit me so differently is because you don't hear a flow like that. You don't hear somebody with that sounds or that has that kind of cadence, that has that kind of voice, rap on things like that. And then you have, the 2 beat switches in it. I lost my mind because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I enjoyed it. I had it on repeat after. That's good. Keep doing that. Keep being innovative. Keep being original. Stay away from all these extra. You don't need that. Imagine you have a whole dictionary, or you have the whole vocabulary at your disposal, and y'all literally are just on this side with the same things over and over and over, and you're just regurgitating, making the same list of things longer, using all these synonyms. Y'all out here using synonyms, getting your tracks off. No wonder hip-hop was declining. Because you guys forgot how to be creative. You got stuck in your personas. You got stuck in the characters that y'all used. You're stuck. When we look at Drake, when you look at Aubrey, he's stuck. He's stuck in his character. He doesn't know what to do because he lived this character all his life. Which is why you need to take a break so you can regroup. To any of these Toronto fans or the Toronto Drake fans or Drake fans in general, I don't even think I ever said once for him to go away. If I'm going to be honest, I never said that once. He needs to sit down because he needs to regroup. The reality behind it is that from my perspective, I see it different from everybody else's perspective because we're going to still need him because there's nobody right now. Okay? Now, we recently declared that Toby and some of the female artists are definitely on the come up. So I'm hopeful for those individuals. But I'm speaking in the current. We need him to go away to come back as a different person. That's the reality behind it. I can't run from, like me being from here, I can't run from that. I can't run from that because regardless of how you see it, that's the number one here. Everybody uses that as influence here. When I go through all those bios for the weekly Canadian Artist Spotlight series, and I go through all the bios and I see everybody's influence, their inspiration, Drake's name's always there. I can't run from it. Everywhere you go around this place, you're going to hear something from him. Caravana tomorrow, I guarantee you're going to hear something from him. You can't shake it round here. It's not like in America where you can literally just turn on any other artist. It's different here. It's a different perspective. It sucks. If I'm going to be honest, it really sucks. But this is what we have to deal with here. Shike's new song is definitely gas. It's so unfortunate, but what can you do? What can you really, there's nothing you can do. You have to sit and accept it and pray that something changes. Because if nothing changes, we're going to be screwed here. And more of our artists has to leave to get popping before we can make our own popping here without them leaving. It's twisted. It's so twisted. It must be nice, Rebecca, because in Toronto, he's like literally the mascot in terms of an artist being like, you know, being the best from here. That's the mascot for Toronto. He was called the ambassador at one point. You can't shake it. Like, it's unfortunate. But look, we have more video to get through, so let's keep going.
Every time Drake dropped, he showed us where the game was going. His co-producer, his Boy Wonder, vinyls, all these, they set the tone to what the standard of shit was. And it wasn't just marginalized as a sound. Nobody says Drake sounds like Toronto. It sounds like the world. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like what hip-hop is, what R&B is. So now, who's at the forefront of it?
Just be careful with what he's saying because he's speaking from the standpoint of what Drake has become. For what Drake has become, technically, that's what he represents. But in reality, we know it's not true. But in that sentence itself, that just goes to show you how powerful marketing is. Because marketing can change perspectives. Marketing can change direction. Marketing can create a different path instead of always being on this path. So just keep that in mind when you hear him speak, because I know a lot of people can get confused in that kind of like that little area right there.
That. You tell me. I want to ask you a question.
Nah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's Kendrick. It feels like he took the top spot.
But would you advise an artist that you're grooming or someone that man go make a not like us?
Yeah, and let me tell you why.
Sonically.
Okay, so the one thing I think when you think about the West Coast, as much as we visited,
I really like this because of the words that they're using in this conversation, because they admitted that they groomed the artists. Not groom in the sense of, all that extra ish on the side. In terms of creating something, you have to tell your artists, you got to do this, you got to do that. That's the problem with the business. A lot of people are saying, you got to be this, you got to be that. This is why you have so many different artists out there that are following this and following that and creating music based on what this person did and creating music based on what that person did. That's the problem in the formula. They want the job to be easy because they don't want to waste the time and put in the work for something that could be subpar. They're trying to put in the least amount of work and maximize their profit. This is why the business is important. Because once you understand that formula, now you can kind of figure out what you need to do in a sense. But the reality is that it's not going to work anymore. You have to put in the work again. Everybody's been putting up subpar numbers for a long time now, to the point where it's not going to work anymore. So now you got to put in the work again. Going back to a talking point that I had a while back, maybe like a couple months ago, when we talk about how people within the industry want the industry to stay the same, which is what it is now, because it's the easiest to make money in that industry. When before the beef, when everything was going on, that was the easiest point to make money. Because going back to the beginning of this video, that's where they're talking about, oh, what was it again? They were talking about how Drake was this for all these people, so they can go to this person and figure out what they can do for their career, go to that person and figure out you're literally creating mini me's of the people that you choose as an influence. A lot of these rappers out here are mini me's. That's why they're afraid to drop. Because they're afraid to look like something they're not. They don't want to be original. They want to be this. Just think about that for a second. They don't want to be original in an industry where that matters the most, especially right now. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
It didn't really have a huge imprint on the totality of hip hop, right? You mean what I mean by that is like, it's like, because you know the West Coast is put like this. They mean more than the artists they have, right? Because it's like everybody want to be on the West Coast, but when you really look at it, it's like Ice Cube and Dre and them been around since the 80s,
Yeah.
right? So then you go Snoop 90s, right? Then you add The Game, right? Then you add YG, you add Kendrick, but it's more like the Avengers than it is an entire universe of them. Like in Atlanta, you got Baby, 21, 2 Chainz, Future. You can name 50 rappers in Atlanta. You can't name 50 rappers from LA that are. Hear me out. Let me finish. 50 rappers from LA who are national, right? That's why I like what Kendrick did with the GNX album, because he put a spotlight. Because in Atlanta and New York, if you underground, you still got the East Coast and you still got the South, but the West is so far away that if you underground, it's not enough underground to reach Atlanta, to reach New York. It might reach Texas like Master P and them did, but it ain't gonna reach that. That's why I'm like, so when they want to think about them, not like us, I'm like, damn, like Kendrick created a new sound for the West Coast, and now there's a chance for artists to take that sound, because now it could be their signature, like the boom bap was this East Coast signature.
It's not even a new sound, if you're gonna keep it a stack. It's just their sound evolved. I won't even say it's new. Like, for you to make a new sound, it would have to sound weird before it can get good. He's speaking towards the evolution in sound. How something as simple as a beat from way back in the day would sound a little different today because it went through an evolution. It took time to get to this. It took work to get to this. It took effort to change it to this. But even though it still keeps the same elements from way back when, it's just hit different now. In that sense, that's the power of hip-hop that I've been speaking about. How hip-hop can evolve. But to his point about how there's so many known Atlanta artists and there's not many artists from LA that are known like that, that adds to the point where they're copying each other. It's damn near plagiarism. They're plagiarizing each other. Not literally, of course, but figuratively. You're looking at this and saying, what could I do with this? How can I make it my own? And now you're trying to make it your own, when in reality, now you're a mini-me of this person. Now, if you go over to LA, it's way more difficult. It's not easy to recreate a Snoop, because that just shows like the authenticity behind it. You know, it's going to be impossible to recreate a Kendrick. You know, Ray Vaughn is close, but even then, with how he raps today, you're not a mini-me. As hard as you can try, you can't recreate that. So when you go over to LA now, you have a way more originals. But it's harder to push that because you don't know how to market this because of how different it is from the status quo, which is when you go to Atlanta now, all these people are popping. Everybody knows about 21. Everybody know about the Migos. Everybody know about Uzi and them. Because they copied somebody already, bruh.
And the 808s was the
That must have sound been the same since Ty Dolla $ign. He just hasn't dropped music much lately, so it sounds new because it's all we heard was South Trap and 808s. Yeah, for real. Drake always been a pop R&B artist. People need to get over that and deal with it. It's hard for them to realize that because of how he was portrayed. I can just pretend Drake doesn't exist here in Guelph and ill with Drake's behavior. I don't want him speaking for Canadians, but the reality is a lot of Canadians want him to speak for them. So that's the thing that I'm talking about when it comes to you can't run from it and you can't hide from it. That's the reality.
The South signature. So I feel like
hey, salute to you, Josh. Salute, bro.
Like us can become the sound. The way he got, I like the music. He got the 80s sound. It's like he gave the West to me direction that I didn't think it had.
Is there enough artists that people fuck with all around the world and in the U.S. that can take that sound and run with it? I don't think that when Mustard does no match beat, Tim Babbitt, that ain't not like us.
Nah.
He went and did that. It's still a Mustard production.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He don't send the same beat pack to A Boogie that he sent to Kendrick Lamar.
I see what you're saying.
He don't send the same beat pack to Quavo that he sent to Kendrick. So at the same token, it's like, unless the West Coast, it's gonna be a moment, and I'm open to it as well because I'm a chameleon. I adapt, nigga. You look
Please,
up.
that's what I was going.
West Coast shit.
Whoa, this is rare. This is rare. Let me go ahead and pick up this call real quick. House of Laughter, ladies and gentlemen. Yo. What's good, my boy? Where you at home?
You're live right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to go on mute real quick. Or if you don't mind, I can tell your audience, but it's you still.
Let me finish this reaction. I'll call you back. How about that?
How long?
It shouldn't be too long. You're going out soon?
Nah. Yeah, no. Say no more. Call me back when you can.
Okay, it shouldn't be too long.
All right, say no more.
All right, man. Take care. Hey, salute to House of Laughter, bruh. And Ray Daniel, they're just having a conversation of how Drake losing to Kendrick Lamar messed up the standard in the industry. That's all. But salute to House of Laughter.
This year, unless the West Coast is going to go to the forefront and just go, and it's going to be like how Dre, Snoop, like they had the reins. I just don't think that you can overcome Atlanta.
But see, what I was thinking is this. How I looked at it was Kendrick gave the West a sound. So think about it. You got places like Arizona.
Wrong. West always had a sound. You just weren't tapped in. This is what happens when you don't pay attention to certain areas of music. Now you're starting to make up nonsense. No, West always had a sound. You just weren't there listening to it because it wasn't charting technically. Doesn't make that clear technically. The industry has their eye on a certain sound that they want to push. So they said, this is what's going to work. This is what we can market. This can be the business. So the West technically was excluded from that because it doesn't sound like what they want to hear. So to that point, sir, you are wrong. What's good, Beast? How you feeling?
It's niggas in Arizona. Yeah. They ain't got no sound. So it becomes like almost like how Alabama and New Orleans and Atlanta, they kind of became the South, Texas, UGK. And I feel like Kendrick gave the West a sound. Because anytime somebody from the West come big, they're big. Like YG, they're big, but it's just few and far in between. And I didn't recognize that until Not Like Us came out.
Wrong.
And the GNX album came. And I was like, damn, like, this is what the West just sound like. Like, it was almost like, that's the West.
Nope. You are absolutely. See, this is what pisses off people in the West because now you're speaking nonsense. Like I said, they always had a sound. You just weren't tapped in because you didn't see revenue from this part of America. You didn't see money coming out from here like that. That should be the conversation y'all should be having. Why didn't y'all pay attention to the West? Literally, that question in itself can explain so much flaws about the industry. Because it didn't make sense how you just had this part of America just not be heard. Like that doesn't make sense. You had to rely on certain people to get this idea of what it sounds like here, when in reality they always had their own ish. You just weren't tapped in. That's it. He is an interesting character, no doubt. We need to take the focus off Toronto with that ego and arrogance. No wonder why we get no ahead, or we don't get ahead in anything. It's true. No, but that ego and that arrogance, that literally is what's crippling Toronto, because we think we're this, when in reality, this is what we are. But because people are continuing to think, oh, we are top dogs, but there's nothing to show for it, now they're just gonna get dismissive. They're gonna be like, yo, I don't even want to talk to you. You don't even understand what's good around here. Our music works around here. Yeah, your music works here, but what about everywhere else? That's not smart business.
The New West. If you're from the West Coast, take that shit right now and run with it. Because it's an easy cadence. It's not like Kendrick is giving us his most thought. He's giving us his small bag. He ain't going in depth in what he's doing. He's entertaining us right now. So I just thought it was a great opportunity for the West to adapt.
It's great, and it's still a great opportunity, but it's on them to
boom. That's what I'm saying. Like a nigga from Vegas that's rapping, take that sound. Mm-hmm. If you from fucking North California, take that sound. If you from Seattle, like you got.
He gave y'all the sauce right there. Yo, the English language is so tricky. Just pay attention to what he just said.
It's on them to
boom. That's what I'm saying. Like a nigga from Vegas that's rapping, take that sound. Mm-hmm. If you from fucking North California, take that sound.
Everything that I just explained previously was confirmed with that point that he made. That one little point where he said, take that sound, confirms everything I said. Literally. That's what I'm saying. This thing called the English language is so tricky, because if you're not fully paying attention, the simple details is going to fly over your head and you're going to miss the window. He literally confirmed it right there. Take that sound. And what I've been talking about this whole time, how they continue to take from each other and try to recreate, when in reality, they're all just mini-me's of one individual. So when it comes to the big beast, that is the industry, and they're afraid to drop, that confirms that they are mini-me's. That confirms it. This is crazy. LA and the Bay don't sound the same, but that's another problem with what they don't understand. They think this is what the West sounds like, when in reality, there's different areas in the West that has their own sound pockets in itself. You're gonna have this here, this here, this here. Like LA and the Bay alone, like, yo, two different things, like what Ron is saying in the chat. It's not the same, but they don't understand that because their ear was never there. Their ear was never over on the West. Their ear was everywhere else. So when it comes to what Josh was asking, is it what's it called? Is it an East Coast radio bias? Honestly, yeah. For real. It's crazy how the business works. That's how twisted it is. They did all this on this side, but forgot about over here. When once upon a time, everybody was included. Everybody was dropping hits. Every region that you went to had a hit, and it flew. That's why I love the 2000s. As problematic as it can be, so much music came out from so many different areas, and it was great. And I was so glad to grow up in that era, because I witnessed all of it. Now, I never understood the regions because I was never from America, but I understood that this sounds different from this, and this sounds different from this, and this over here sounds different from this, and this over here is its own completely different thing. I'm just like, this sounds good. When E40 was dropping in the early 2000s, And he had features with either with T-Pain or somebody else. Like, it sounds good. It all sounds good. It's crazy. It's crazy.
If you from Seattle, like, you got to do what the South did. We was country, you know, like, it's country. Like, y'all the Midwest. And, you know, they bunch Detroit, Chicago, you know, St. Louis, the Midwest, Atlanta, Florida, Georgia. Like, it's like, but the West was just like L.A.
True.
And to me, it's like a great opportunity for the West
wrong.
to be the West.
Oh, no, it's wide open for the West.
Yeah, that's what.
See, that's what makes the business bad, because they don't see LA, or they don't see the West as LA, Bay, etc., etc. They only see it as the West. They're trying to generalize the regions. That's not good. Because that can start problems, not necessarily like wars, but that can start problems. That can start unnecessary beefs. There's a reason why these things were what it was. And now when you come in and you let them do what they need to do to kind of help push the market, when in reality, the generalization is what's crippling a lot of this. That's the biggest problem. And you have to break that cycle. And what Kendrick did, striking fear into these dudes' eyes, is literally the key. It is the catalyst. And the perfect follow-up was the clips. Now, see, and I spoke about this a long time ago, because if you were to do this, the momentum has to continue. There should be no down periods. That's the biggest problem with why it's not working as how it should be, is because of the down periods. This momentum has to continue. It has to keep going for it to work. If you want to change the narrative just like that, you got to keep your foot on their necks. That is the key. If you continuously have unique sounds, unique albums, unique sounds that can fly, come out, you can change the narrative just like that. But the down periods is what's bringing the uncertainty. That's bringing the uncertainty. That's what's making people not be like confident in the shift. That's why the shift is taking so long, because the numerous amounts of down periods. We should have the music fly, keep flying, the same way how they flood every Friday on the DSPs with nonsense, flooded with good-ish. But if you don't do that, it's not gonna work. That's why I'm concerned, and I see it a little differently, because the same strategy they use, we're not doing it, but that's what worked. You can't sit there and say we can do something else when that's literally the strategy that's been set. You have to use what they did against them. If you don't do that, who knows what's going to happen at this point?
What I was saying, like, and I think, if I was an A&R, I'm like, I got a young nigga, I'm like, because we know Kendrick is not going to do the GNX sound the next album. He always goes somewhere else. So we just see it working. It's open, right? Like, he's going to leave that there.
Not Like Us is the biggest song of last year, hands down. Yeah. It will win the Grammy.
But King, the reality behind is that they want the separation. They want the separation because it's good business for them. And I'm speaking towards the music industry. It's good business for the music industry when you start to separate or segregate, for lack of a better term. When you start to separate the West and the East, now you're starting to break down the regions and say like, oh, this, whatever. They want that separation. It's like choosing Xbox and PlayStation. It's all about preference. I agree with you, but they want it to be more than just that. But they don't want it to be fully like, oh, we can choose from Sega, GameCube, Game Boy, N64, Super Nintendo, Xbox. They don't want that. That's too much. That's too much to market, so they're trying to generalize it. You know? I'm East Coast forever, but I love sounds of all the regions because of its originality. I agree with you. Of course, money's always the motive, forever. I'm posting Kitchener and London hip-hop rap artists for you to check out. We have the exact shit going on here regionally. I don't know why you're not looking for our artists and talking about Americans. I'm always going to talk about the Americans. I'm always going to look for Canadian artists. Don't get it twisted. I have an artist from Montreal that we're going to be checking out today. Don't get it twisted. I'm kind of excited because I think this is going to be good. I think what we're going to be hearing from this artist is going to be good. So I'm excited to share some of that music. But in terms of music within the GTA, I struggle with that because I don't even know what the sound is. That's the biggest issue. I don't even know what the sound is.
For song of the year.
Yeah.
But at the same token, it's regional.
Genesis forever.
It ain't gonna stop no Future.
But
Mega Future just put a post out the other day and said, I told her I threw away my whole phone, and it was a pink phone on the floor with him and parents and Fashion Week. That was better than a song to me. Like, that
threw away his whole phone.
Like, damn, that's something I say too, man. Like, tell security gonna pick up that whole phone when we get out of the picture. Yeah, it hit different, man. Like the West Coast has a culture, and they're really excited about what their culture is. But the swag and the bravado and just not give a fuck come from other places.
But if they were smart, if I was an A&R, I would if you in the building, like you said, like what you said, Drake set the stage, right, and everybody could follow.
What's good, Furry? I agree with you. I'm not a fan. See, I'm not too familiar with the crime. I know the crime rate is high in the UK, but I'm not too familiar with what goes on exactly. So I can't fully say I don't like grime because I do. I am a fan of grime. I've been a fan of grime for a long time. But when it comes to drill, I am not a fan of drill. I will do the dance. I will do every dance that came with drill music. Don't get it twisted. However, I am not a fan of the content in the songs. It's all beat that carries it. When you look at the content, it's like I struggle with it because I can't really play this anywhere. I got to play this in certain places, and like it's not really fun to me.
To me, when I heard the GNX album, I was like, if you from the West Coast and you trying to come up, think about it. You have a chance to give a DJ a record to play right after Not Like Us. Right now you can because you remember in the South, you would go to the club and you can go to the club in the South 10 years ago and you'll hear Jeezy for an hour. Yeah. You can hear Future for an hour. Yeah. You can hear T.I. for an hour. I mean, like, for real. I'm talking about, like, in Columbia, South Carolina, Greenville, you going to go to them clubs. They're going to play Future.
You going to hear Boosie for an hour.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's no West Coast artists that we hear in the club
because they don't want to hear it
now. Because the club is our culture. But imagine if I was an artist, I'm taking that sound, I'm going right behind that. That's what a nigga, the hustle.
It's a mental game. It's a mental game because you left this out for so long and you conditioned the people to this and you made the people like that. You made the people like today's music. Cool. So when they go to the club and they want to hear Future, they want to hear Gunna, they want to hear Young Thug, they want to hear Drake, they want to hear whatever artist that's popping. You know what I'm saying? Just give like a few examples. When you come in with this from the West now, it's going to be iffy because a lot of people are like, yo, I don't even want to hear that. That happens a lot around here. As soon as you hear that bounce, you know what I'm saying? When you hear that West bounce, you know, a lot of people around here, they don't mess with that. But best believe, I'll be blasting that everywhere I go. Trust and believe me. But that's the conditioning with the music industry today. It's really a mental game. It's like a mental game of attrition. You know what I'm saying? Which is why I go back to the point where it's like the same way how they flood the DSPs with nonsense, you got to flood the DSPs with some good ish. It really is a mental game of attrition on controlling the masses. It's a sick and twisted game. Trust and believe me. Okay?
Hustler would do.
Yeah, for sure.
Shit, because Kendrick, we know he ain't getting another light. We know this was like a moment in his career and he's going to go to more artsy shit. But it's open, nigga, take it.
I was about to say, do you think they're going to do that?
That's what I would do if I was you. Hit me out, huh?
Do you think they're going to do that? Like, because Cali feels a little more laid back than the East Coast might jump on it because they hustle.
But for the first time, a Wolf, they have like a real, like Snoop was the biggest artist in the world, but he's always so much drama. He's laid back.
Back.
Like, that's why, you need that. That's why they love Ice Cube so much because he is aggressive. You know what I'm saying? So I think this Kendrick album is aggressive. So I think it has man, if I was from the West, man, I would fucking go. Like, I swear to God, if y'all stop celebrating the song, give us 10 more of those, 10 more records.
I think it's happening.
And I get that, Ron.
Salute to Top Dog, who's also a guy that I know. And like, I ain't gonna lie, like TDE bigger than all these other labels.
Everybody.
For real. Damn it, like a fucking
Nah,
shit.
like a major almost.
Yeah.
What can I say? It was a good conversation. I had a lot of good talking points within that. Why would artists do that right after the beef when Kendrick shook the hell out of all the artists? It's not necessarily an artist. You got to remember who's controlling the artists. Don't forget that part at all, because once you understand who's controlling who, then you understand what kind of narrative they're trying to push. It's twisted. Trust me. It is twisted. I love my city. I love what we create. But at this point, if you're not from here, you're not getting play. I agree with that as well. I completely agree with that. It's hard, like, but that's, they kind of want that. They don't want full unity. They want some unity over here, and they want some unity over here. Why? Because if these two sides were to ever clash, well, y'all saw what happened with Drake and Kendrick. So, you know, it's like a set algorithm that guarantees them maximum profit. That's what I'm saying. This mental game is absolutely twisted. It is absolutely twisted. And there is nothing you can do about it because it's already set. That's the scariest part. So it's more about how can you work with this, or how can you use the same techniques that they use to deliver more of a positive kind, not necessarily positive in the sense of, oh, nah, we're going to only promote positivity, but promote something more substantial. That's the game you should be playing, because you can't change what's set. It takes years to change that. And you think they're going to sit back and allow that? No. So you got to understand, how can we use what they use against them? That's the key. Like I said, that was a good conversation, bro. That was a good conversation for real, because it's not necessarily that you're going to get an answer from this, but it can help further the discussion of the things that I talked about in this reaction in itself, because there's a lot. There's definitely a lot. So, man, like, that's why now, not all Ray Daniels videos, but some of the videos is like, yo, they can really fly. They can really work. You know, we can really get some good conversation out of them. Yeah, but what they don't see is on the side, they love to take shit where it doesn't need to go and go for violence. We just now started to get people from New York to move here after 30 years of beefing over literally nothing. And Tupac ain't even from here. That's a good point. That's a good point. I agree with what you're saying, but it's hard to change that. Look what it take to change that and have people move back after 30 years of beefing. Like I said, it's not an overnight thing. Trust me. One side isn't scared of introspection, the other want to get the party. Absolutely. But the magic behind making it work is be finding the duality and understand how to utilize wow, words are hard. To utilize the duality between the two. Sometimes you need more of one side than the other side. Sometimes you need more of the other side than one side. But at the end of the day, if both are represented in some sort of way, you can definitely promote some of the greatest music in the world. That's why Not Like Us hits different. Yes, it was a diss track, no doubt. And boy was dissed. So you had more of one side than the other side. You know? It's interesting. It's cool. It's fun. But yeah. I don't even know, man. This was just a phenomenal conversation in itself. I'm glad I had the convo. So let me go ahead and call House of Laughter real quick, because he said he wanted to talk to me about something. So let me make that happen real quick.
I don't live in present tense, so just over a Daytona. Girl, my life been like a kid drama.
Bye, have a beautiful time.